The wind was cold that morning, whispering through the silent main street of Dustfall town. He came for flour, gun oil, and nothing more. A man who'd sworn never to look back, never to care again. But what he found outside the bakery changed everything. A woman, barefoot, trembling, her wedding dress torn and dusty, was on her knees begging for a crust of bread. Folks passed by like she was invisible, but not him. Not the man they called the Quiet Rancher. Before we begin, make sure to hit that Luke Hay button and subscribe IB for more true, heart-wrenching Wild West stories that'll keep you hooked till the very end. The day was dry, the kind that cracked the lips and baked the soul. Elijah Kane rode slow into town, dust trailing behind his black horse. He'd been out on his range for weeks, away from the noise, the lies, and the ghosts of war. He came for supplies and silence, nothing more. But as his boots hit the ground outside the old bakery, he saw her. She was kneeling by the steps, a young woman with dirt-streaked cheeks and eyes full of terror and shame. Her hands clutched her stomach, and her voice was barely a whisper. "Please, just one piece I haven't eaten in 2 days." The baker looked down at her coldly. "Go on, girl. Ain't got no handouts for strays." Elijah froze. Something deep inside him twisted. A memory of his wife, long buried under the ashes of a fire that had taken his home. He watched the girl collapse against the steps, her frail body trembling. He walked forward, reached into his saddlebag, and dropped a silver coin on the counter. "Give her bread. Fresh." The baker hesitated. "She's trouble, mister." "Runaway bride, I heard. Her man left her." Elijah's voice cut through the air like a blade. "I said bread." The crowd quieted as the baker obeyed. The woman lifted her eyes to him, pale blue, broken, and thankful. "Why?" she whispered. He didn't answer. He just handed her the loaf, turned back to his horse, and said, "Eat." "Then tell me what happened." She said her name was Grace. Married 3 weeks ago, she told him, to a man twice her age who'd bought her from her struggling father. Her voice cracked as she spoke, the bread half eaten between sobs. "He beat me," she whispered. "Said I wasn't worth the price he paid. Last night he threw me out." Elijah listened in silence. Each word she said dug deeper into the scars he carried, not on his skin, but on his soul. He saw the bruises on her arms, the red marks near her neck. Her wedding ring was gone. "Where's he now?" Elijah asked. "Probably drunk at the saloon," she muttered, looking down. "He said if he ever saw me again, he'd shoot me." Elijah's jaw tightened. He didn't speak for a long while, just watched the street where men laughed and spat tobacco into the dirt. Then he said quietly, "You got somewhere to go." Grace shook her head. He sighed, took a deep breath, and said, "Then you'll ride with me." She looked shocked. "I can't. People will talk." "Let 'em," Elijah said, his eyes hard as stone. "You need food, shelter, and time to breathe again. That's all I'm offering." And just like that, he lifted her onto his horse and rode out of town, leaving whispers and curious stares behind. The journey back to his ranch was quiet, the silence between them filled with unspoken pain. Elijah's land stretched wide, kissed by the sunset, a lonely haven for a man who'd lost everything. He helped Grace down, showed her the cabin, the barn, the fields that still grew wildflowers despite neglect. For days they didn't talk much. She cooked, he worked. Sometimes he'd find her by the fence, staring at the horizon like it held something she'd lost. One night, a storm rolled in. Rain hammered the roof and thunder shook the walls. Grace sat by the fire, trembling. Elijah noticed, walked over, and quietly placed his coat over her shoulders. "You don't have to be scared no more," he said softly. Her eyes met his. "I don't deserve kindness." He smiled faintly. "Ain't about deserving. It's about needing it." Then came the gunfire. 3 men outside, led by her husband. "I told you she was mine," the man roared. Elijah stepped onto the porch, rifle in hand. "She's not yours anymore." Thunder cracked again, but this time it wasn't the sky. When the dust settled, 2 men lay wounded, and Grace's husband lay still, face down in the mud. Elijah stood there, rain dripping from his hat, his rifle smoking. Grace ran to him, eyes wide with disbelief. "You killed him," she whispered. Elijah looked down. No. I ended what he already destroyed. She fell to her knees sobbing, not from sorrow, but from release. Years of pain, fear, and shame melted into the wet earth beneath her. Elijah knelt beside her, rested a hand on her shoulder. It's over now. Weeks passed. The town spoke of what happened, but neither cared. Grace worked the ranch, and slowly, laughter began to return to the quiet land. One evening, as the sun bled gold over the prairie, she stood beside him on the porch. "Elijah," she said softly, "why did you help me?" He looked at her, eyes distant. "Because once someone should have helped my wife, and didn't." Tears filled her eyes. She touched his hand. Then maybe it wasn't too late after all. He smiled. A faint, tired smile that carried peace at last. The wind blew gentle across the fields, carrying the scent of wheat and rain. Two broken souls had found a place to heal. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful Wild West tales that remind us, even in the harshest deserts, mercy can still bloom.